Ambassador Kate Morrison walked through the massive halls of the Galactic Council, building on Nexus Prime. The walls stretched up so high she could barely see the ceiling. Alien beings floated, crawled, and walked past her in every direction. Some looked like giant insects with crystal wings. Others were tall and thin like walking trees. A few resembled floating jellyfish that glowed different colors as they moved. Kate had been Earth's representative to the Galactic Council for 5 years now. Every day felt like a struggle. The other species treated humans like children who didn't understand how the galaxy worked. They spoke to her in slow, simple words, as if she couldn't understand complex ideas. When she tried to speak in council meetings, they would look at each other and make sounds that meant they thought she was being cute. Today was different, though. Today she was going to ask for something that could save millions of human lives back on Earth. A terrible sickness had started spreading across the planet 6 months ago. Human doctors couldn't figure out how to stop it. The disease attacked the brain and made people forget everything they knew. First, they forgot how to read. Then they forgot how to speak. Finally, they forgot how to eat or drink, and they died. Corvani species had medicine that could cure this kind of brain sickness. Kate had seen their medical reports. Their cure worked on dozens of different species across the galaxy. It should work on humans, too. All she needed was for the Council to share the medicine with Earth. Kate reached the great chamber where the Council met. The room was shaped like a giant bowl, with seats arranged in circles going up the walls. Each species had their own section, with special air and gravity to keep them comfortable. The human section was small and located near the bottom of the room where it was hard to see or hear properly. She took her seat and waited for the meeting to begin. The council leader was a being called HFY from the ancient Vorthan Empire. He looked like a giant blue brain sitting in a floating chair, surrounded by mechanical arms. When he spoke, his voice came from speakers all around the room. Today, we will hear the request from the human representative, HFY announced. His tone made it sound like he was talking about a pet asking for treats. Kate stood up and activated her translation device. Honored council members, I come before you today to request access to Corvani brain medicine. A disease is killing millions of humans on Earth. We need your help to save them. Murmurs filled the chamber. She could hear alien voices speaking in their own languages. The translation system picked up words like primitive and expected and typical humans. The Corvani representative was named Veltar. He was tall and thin with silver skin that reflected light like a mirror. When he spoke, his voice sounded like music. The human species was classified as juvenile 30 years ago when they joined the council. Juvenile species are not permitted to access advanced medical technology. Kate felt her heart sink, but she pressed on. Respectfully, humans have made great advances in the past 30 years. We have colonies on 15 worlds now. Our scientists have discovered new forms of energy. Our engineers maintain the hyperspace relay stations in Sector 7. Another council member spoke up. This one looked like a giant insect with wings that changed colors. Maintaining relay stations is basic technical work. Any species can do that job. It does not prove intelligence or maturity. Kate pulled out a data pad and displayed her information on the chamber's screens. Human doctors have created new treatments for diseases that affect 6 different council species. Human negotiators have resolved conflicts between the Aldorian Federation and the Zephyrian Empire. Human engineers designed the quantum computers that run the council's communication network. The chamber fell quiet for a moment. Kate thought maybe she had finally gotten through to them. Then HFY's mechanical arms moved, and he leaned forward in his floating chair. Yes, humans have been useful workers, he said. But usefulness is not the same as wisdom. The council has existed for 10,000 years. We have seen many species like yours. They develop quickly, make loud demands, and then destroy themselves through war or environmental damage. The medicine you request is dangerous. In the wrong hands, it could be modified into a weapon that attacks the brain instead of healing it. Kate felt anger building in her chest. We're not asking you to give us the formula. We just want enough medicine to treat the sick people on Earth. You could send your own doctors to make sure we use it properly. The insect being's wings flashed. Bright red. The Council does not send our medical experts to juvenile worlds. The risk is too great. If something happened to them, it would be a terrible loss. But if something happens to millions of humans, that's acceptable? Kate asked. The loss of a few million individuals from one species is statistically insignificant in galactic terms. Veltar replied. The loss of even one Corvani medical expert would set back galactic medicine by centuries. Kate stared at him in shock. She had known the Council looked down on humans, but she never realized how little they valued human life. Around the chamber, other representatives nodded in agreement with Veltar's words. I see, Kate said quietly. So human lives don't matter to you at all. All life has value, Zexhai said in a tone that suggested he was being patient with Achunt. Slow child, but some life has more value than others. This is simply the natural order of things. Humans will learn to accept their place in the galaxy eventually. Kate closed her data pad and looked around the chamber one more time. These beings had watched humans work to maintain their technology, resolve their conflicts, and improve their civilization for 30 years. But they still saw humans as nothing more than useful animals. She reached into her jacket and pulled out a sealed envelope. The envelope contained orders from President Linda Hayes back on Earth. Kate had hoped she wouldn't need to open it, but now she understood. There was no other choice. Inside the envelope was a single sheet of paper with a short message. If they refuse to treat us as equals, then we will no longer serve as their servants. Operation Exodus begins now. Kate stood up straight and spoke in a clear, strong voice that carried throughout the chamber. I hereby inform the Galactic Council that the United Earth Federation is withdrawing from this organization, effective immediately. We will no longer participate in Council activities, maintain Council technology, or recognize Council authority over human space. The chamber erupted in shock sounds from dozens of different species. Kate had never heard so many aliens all talking at once. Zexhai's mechanical arms waved frantically as he tried to restore order. You cannot simply leave the Council, he declared. No species has ever voluntarily withdrawn from our organization. Ben will be the first, Kate replied. She gathered her materials and walked toward the chamber exit. Behind her, the alien voices grew louder and more panicked. As she reached the door, Kate turned back one last time. Maybe you'll learn to appreciate what humans contributed to your civilization after we're gone. She walked out of the chamber and didn't look back. Operation Exodus had begun. President Linda Hayes sat in the Oval Office staring at the cameras that would broadcast her message to every human on Earth and beyond. She had been preparing for this moment for 3 years, ever since she took office. The decision to leave the Galactic Council was not made lightly. Her advisors had run thousands of computer simulations to predict what would happen when Earth withdrew from galactic society. The results were always the same. Earth would face challenges, but humanity would survive and eventually thrive. The question was whether they could convince 7 billion people that walking away from the galaxy's most powerful organization was the right choice. Madam President, we're live in 30 seconds, the camera operator announced. Linda straightened her jacket and looked directly into the camera lens. When the red light came on, she spoke in the calm, confident voice that had helped her win. The election. My fellow humans, today marks the beginning of a new chapter in our species' history. After 30 years of membership in the Galactic Council, Earth has chosen to withdraw from that organization. This decision was not made in anger or haste. It was made because the Council has repeatedly demonstrated that they do not value human life or respect human achievements. She paused to let that sink in before continuing. For 3 decades, we have served the galaxy faithfully. Human engineers maintain their technology. Human doctors treat their sick. Human negotiators resolve their conflicts. Human workers staff their space stations and mining operations. Yet when we needed their help to save millions of human lives from a terrible disease, they refused because they consider us too primitive to deserve their medicine. In space stations around Earth, human workers stopped what they were doing to watch the broadcast. On the lunar colonies, miners gathered around video screens in the cafeterias. In the outer system, crews on asteroid mining ships huddled together in their small ships to hear their president's words. Starting immediately, all human personnel serving in galactic operations will return to Earth or to human-controlled space. We will no longer maintain alien technology or staff alien facilities. We will develop our own solutions to our own problems. We will build our own future among the stars. Captain Lisa Park was commanding the Deep Space Survey ship Roosevelt when the president's broadcast reached them. She was 300 light-years from Earth, studying a nebula for the Galactic Science Consortium. Her crew of 45 humans had been working in deep space for 8 months. Captain, we're receiving new orders from Earth Command, her communications. Officer reported. Lisa read the orders on her command screen. All human ships were to cease their current missions and return to human space immediately. Any ship that was too far from Earth to make the journey should head to the nearest human colony and wait for further instructions. Plot a course for New Chicago, Lisa told her navigation officer. New Chicago was a human colony world only 50 light-years away. They could reach it in 2 weeks using their current drive system. Around the galaxy, similar scenes played out on hundreds of human ships and thousands of space stations. Captain Jake Sullivan commanded the Earth Defense Fleet that protected the Sol system. He sent encrypted messages to every human captain in the galaxy with the same simple instruction: come home. The withdrawal was massive and complex. Humans had spread much further through the galaxy than most people realized. There were research stations studying alien plant life on distant worlds, mining operations extracting rare metals from asteroid belts, diplomatic outposts keeping peace between warring alien species, hospital ships treating diseases that affected multiple species. Commander Ryan Brooks was stationed on Relay Station 7, a critical hyperspace communication hub that allowed faster-than-light messages to travel between different parts of the galaxy. The station had a crew of 200 beings from 15 different species. 60 of them were human. Sir, we just received orders to evacuate all human personnel, his second-in-command reported. Ryan looked around the station's command center. Humans operated the quantum computers that processed the hyperspace signals. They maintained the power systems that kept the station running. They managed the complex scheduling that allowed thousands of messages to flow through the relay network every hour. What happens to the station when we leave? Ryan asked. His alien colleagues looked at each other nervously. None of them fully understood how the human-designed systems worked. The humans had been running these operations for so long that other species had never bothered to learn the technical details. We will manage, replied the station's Corvani administrator, though his voice didn't sound confident. Within hours of the president's announcement, transport ships began arriving at human installations throughout the galaxy. The evacuation was organized and efficient. Humans had been planning for this possibility ever since joining the Council. They knew exactly which personnel were essential and which equipment needed to be brought back to Earth. Dr. Susan Martinez was working in a secret laboratory buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. While other humans served the galaxy openly, she led a team of scientists who had been secretly studying alien technology for years. Every device that humans maintained in space had been quietly analyzed and reverse-engineered. How much progress have we made on understanding their hyperspace drives? Linda Hayes asked during a secure video call. We cracked the basic principles 6 months ago, Susan replied. We can build our own versions now, and they'll be better than the originals. The alien designs are thousands of years old. They work, but they're not efficient. What about their weapon systems? Primitive by our standards. They rely on energy beams that travel at light speed. We've developed projectile weapons that move through hyperspace. They'll hit targets before the aliens even know they've been fired at. And their medical technology? Susan smiled. We solved the brain disease problem ourselves 2 weeks ago. We never needed their medicine. Our cure is actually more effective than theirs. As human ships and personnel streamed back toward Earth, the first signs of trouble began appearing in galactic civilization. On Relay Station 7, the quantum computers started experiencing errors when the human technicians left. The Corvani administrator tried to fix the problems, but only made them worse. Trade routes that had operated smoothly for decades began experiencing delays. Cargo ships found themselves stranded at stations where human traffic controllers had maintained the docking schedules. Without humans to coordinate the complex logistics, shipments of food and materials started backing up at major spaceports. The Aldorian Federation discovered that their hospital ships couldn't function properly without human doctors. The humans had developed new surgical techniques that other species couldn't perform. They had created medicines that worked better than traditional treatments. Without human medical staff, patients who should have recovered began dying. Captain Danny Foster was a Zephyrian officer who had worked closely with humans for years. He respected their abilities and had tried to convince his government to treat them better. When he heard about Earth's withdrawal, he immediately requested permission to travel to the Sol system. I need to speak with them, he told his superiors. Maybe we can convince them to return if we offer better terms. Humans are replaceable, his commanding officer replied. Other species can learn to do their jobs. Sir, with respect, that's not true. I've seen what humans can do. They think differently than we do. They solve problems in ways we never consider. Without them, our civilization will fall apart. Within days, Annie's prediction began coming true. Systems that had run perfectly for centuries started failing. The careful balance that kept galactic civilization functioning was collapsing as humans withdrew from their roles. But on Earth, something different was happening. Free from council restrictions, human scientists began making breakthroughs at an incredible pace. They developed new technologies that didn't depend on alien knowledge. They created solutions to problems the galaxy had lived with for thousands of years. President Hayes watched the reports coming in from across human space. The withdrawal was working exactly as planned. Earth was finally free to reach its full potential, and the rest of the galaxy was beginning to understand just how much they had depended on human innovation and dedication. The universe was about to discover what happened when humanity stopped serving others and started serving themselves. The Great Chamber of the Galactic Council had never seen chaos like this before. Representatives from dozens of species shouted at each other in their native languages while the translation systems struggled to keep up. Emergency sessions had been called every day for the past 2 weeks since Earth's withdrawal, but no one could agree on what to do about the crisis. Ambassador Veltar of the Corvani hegemony floated above his seat, his silver skin reflecting the emergency lighting that bathed the chamber in red. His musical voice carried a note of panic that he tried to hide. The hyperspace communication network is failing across 3 sectors. Without human technicians to maintain the relay stations, we are losing contact with entire star systems. The Insect-like representative from the Nexari Trade Union buzzed angrily, her wings flashing bright orange. My people's cargo ships are stranded at 17 different spaceports. The humans who managed our shipping schedules are gone. No one else understands their systems well enough to keep trade flowing. Zex High, a council leader, waved his mechanical arms for silence. His giant blue brain pulsed with stress patterns that everyone in the chamber could see. Surely these are temporary problems. Other species can learn to perform these tasks. The galaxy survived for millions of years before humans joined us. That was before we became dependent on their innovations, replied the Aldorian representative. She looked like a tall, graceful tree with branches that moved like arms. Human doctors created new treatments that we have been using in our hospitals for 20 years. Without them, patients are dying from diseases we thought we had conquered. Captain Danny Foster had been granted special permission to address the council as a military observer. He stood in the center of the chamber where everyone could see. His blue-scaled Zephyrian features showed the exhaustion he felt from weeks of emergency duty. Honored council members, I have served alongside humans for 15 years. I tried to warn my superiors that this day would come. Humans are not like other species. They do not accept their place in a hierarchy and stay there forever. They constantly push forward, always trying to improve things. That is exactly why they needed to be controlled, Veltar responded. Uncontrolled change leads to chaos. But controlled change leads to stagnation, Danny replied. While we have been maintaining the same systems for thousands of years, humans have been quietly improving everything they touched. Our communication networks are faster because of human modifications. Our medical technology is more effective because of human research. Our ships are safer because of human engineering improvements. The chamber fell silent as the representatives considered his words. Many of them were beginning to understand the scope of what they had lost when Earth withdrew from the Council. On Earth, General Patricia White stood in the Pentagon situation, room-watching displays that showed human activity across the galaxy. Red dots marked the locations of human colonies and installations. Green lines showed the routes that human ships were taking as they returned home. Blue areas indicated regions where galactic civilization was experiencing problems due to human withdrawal. General, we're receiving communication requests from 47 different species, her aide reported. They all want to negotiate Earth's return to the Council. What are they offering? Patricia asked. Full Council membership with voting rights, access to all galactic technology, and formal apologies for past treatment. Patricia laughed. 6 months ago, they wouldn't even give us medicine to save our own people. Now they want to offer us everything they previously denied. Tell them we're not interested. In the underground laboratory beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Kevin Walsh made a discovery that would change everything. He had been studying the quantum signatures left behind by alien technology when humans repaired or modified it. What he found was remarkable. Susan, you need to see this. He called to Dr. Martinez, who was working at another station. What did you find? She asked as she walked over to his workstation. Look at these readings. Every time humans worked on alien technology, we left behind trace amounts of our own quantum patterns. It's like a fingerprint that shows we were there. So what does that mean? Kevin pulled up a galaxy-wide map on his screen. It means we can track every piece of technology that humans have ever touched. And look at this data. Our quantum signatures have been spreading through their systems like a virus. Alien technology that we modified is now modifying other alien technology automatically. Susan stared at the screen in amazement. Are you saying that human innovations are replicating themselves across the galaxy without our direct involvement? Exactly. We've been upgrading their entire civilization without them realizing it. The improvements we made to their hyperspace drives are now being copied by their manufacturing systems. The medical treatments we developed are being automatically integrated into their hospital databases. The security protocols we wrote are spreading through their computer networks. And now that we're gone, now their systems are trying to update themselves using human-designed improvements. But there are no humans around to guide the process. That's why everything is breaking down. Their technology is trying to become more human-like, but they don't understand how to complete the transformation. Meanwhile, Captain Danny Foster had convinced his government to let him travel to Earth's orbital defense platforms. He commanded a small diplomatic ship carrying representatives from 12 different species. They all hoped to convince humanity to return to the Council dot. As they approached Earth's outer defenses, Danny was amazed by what he saw. The humans had built new types of space stations that looked nothing like Council designs. They were sleeker and more efficient. Energy readings showed that they were more powerful than anything in the galactic fleet. Human control. This is diplomatic vessel Peaceseeker requesting permission to approach, Danny transmitted. Peaceseeker, you are cleared to dock at Platform 7. You will be met by Captain Foster and an escort team. Captain Julie Foster was no relation to Danny, despite sharing the same name. She was a career military officer who commanded Earth's outer defense perimeter. When the alien delegation arrived, she greeted them with professional courtesy, but made it clear that they were not welcome. We appreciate your desire to negotiate, she told them in the docking bay. But Earth has made its decision. We will not return to the Council under any circumstances. The alien delegates looked around the human space station with obvious amazement. Everything was clean, efficient, and clearly more advanced than their own technology. The humans had made remarkable progress in just a few months of independence. Captain Foster, surely we can reach some agreement, Danny pleaded. The galaxy needs human expertise. Without you, our civilization is collapsing. That's not our problem anymore, Julie replied firmly. For 30 years, the Council treated us like servants. They used our skills while denying us respect. They refused to help us when we needed them most. Now they expect us to come running back just because they're having difficulties. But people are dying. Entire star systems are losing communication. Trade networks that have operated for thousands of years are failing. Julie's expression softened slightly. We're sorry to hear that innocent beings are suffering. But the Council created this situation through their own arrogance. They had 3 decades to treat humanity as equals. They chose not to. The alien delegation returned to their ship empty-handed. As they departed Earth space, they could see human construction projects throughout the solar system. New ships were being built using revolutionary designs. Space stations were expanding using materials and methods that seemed impossible. Back in the Council chambers, the crisis continued to deepen. Reports arrived daily of new system failures, communication breakdowns, and social unrest on worlds that depended on galactic infrastructure. The proud civilization that had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years was discovering that it could not function without the humans they had dismissed as primitive. But on Earth, humanity was just beginning to show what they could accomplish. When freed from artificial restrictions, the universe was about to learn that walking away from the Galactic Council was not humanity's surrender, but their declaration of independence. 6 months had passed since Earth's dramatic withdrawal from the Galactic Council, and the galaxy looked completely different. Director Sam Powell stood in the command center of Luna Station, Earth's new diplomatic headquarters built on the far side of the moon. Through the massive observation windows, he could see construction crews working on the latest addition to humanity's growing space. Infrastructure. Sam had been chosen to lead the United Earth Federation's new approach to galactic politics. Unlike the old system where humans begged for acceptance from the Council, The Federation operated on principles of voluntary cooperation and mutual respect. Any species that wanted to work with humanity was welcome, but they had to treat humans as equals. Director, we have another delegation requesting to join the Free Systems Coalition, his aide reported. This time, it's the Nexari Trade Union. They're offering to share their shipping technology in exchange for access to our new hyperspace communication network. Sam smiled as he reviewed the proposal. The Nexari had been one of the most vocal supporters of keeping humans in a subordinate role when Earth was still in the Council. Now they were practically begging to join humanity's new alliance. Schedule a meeting for next week, he told his aide. But make sure they understand that joining the coalition means following our rules. No species gets special treatment, and everyone shares their knowledge freely. The Free Systems Coalition had grown rapidly as more species abandoned the failing Galactic Council. 17 different civilizations had already joined, with dozens more expressing interest. Each new member brought their own unique technologies and perspectives, creating an explosion of innovation that amazed everyone involved. Captain Julie Adams commanded the UEF Horizon, the first starship built entirely with unrestricted human technology. The ship was a masterpiece of engineering that incorporated the best ideas from every species in the coalition. Its hull was made from Zephyrian metamaterials that could change shape during flight. Its engines used Aldorian quantum crystals enhanced, with human modifications that tripled their efficiency. Its weapons systems were purely human design, based on principles that no other species had ever considered. Julie was leading a patrol mission near the border between Coalition space and the territory still controlled by the Galactic Council. Her sensors detected a large Council fleet approaching one of the human colonies in the disputed zone. Captain, we're detecting 50 Council warships moving toward New Boston Colony, her tactical officer reported. They appear to be attempting a blockade. Signal the colony to begin evacuation procedures, Julie ordered. Then take us to intercept the Council fleet. Captain, we're just one ship against 50. Shouldn't we call for reinforcements? Julie looked at her crew with confidence. The Horizon is worth 100 Council ships. Trust me. The Council fleet was commanded by Admiral Kethfor of the ancient Fourthen Empire. He had served in the Galactic military for over 3 centuries and had never lost a battle. His orders were simple. Establish a blockade around the human colony and force Earth to negotiate the return of human personnel to Council facilities. Admiral, we're detecting a single human ship approaching our position, his sensor operator reported. Kethfor looked at the tactical display with amusement. One ship? Are the humans planning to surrender? Sir, the ship is transmitting a message. Captain Adams' face appeared on the main screen of the Council flagship. She looked calm and professional despite facing overwhelming odds. Council fleet, you are approaching sovereign human territory. Turn back immediately or face the consequences. Kethfor laughed, a sound like grinding metal that filled his ship's bridge. Human captain, you are outnumbered 50-1. Surrender. Now, and we will treat your crew with mercy. I don't think you understand the situation, Julie replied. This is your only warning. The transmission ended, and the Council fleet prepared for battle. Kethvar had fought humans before when they were restricted to Council-approved technology. This should be an easy victory. All ships, target the human vessel, he commanded. Fire at will. 50 Council warships opened fire simultaneously, filling space with energy beams and missile salvos. The amount of firepower was enough to destroy a small moon. But when the weapons reached the horizon, something impossible happened. The human ship didn't explode or even slow down. Instead, it seemed to absorb the incoming fire like a black hole swallowing light. The Council weapons simply vanished when they touched the Horizon's hull. What is happening? Kethvar demanded, Sir, our weapons are having no effect. The human ship appears to be protected by some kind of energy absorption field. Julie's voice came over the communication system again. I tried to warn you. Now let me show you what human technology can really do. The Horizon fired a single weapon that looked like a pulse of silver light. The pulse spread out as it traveled, growing larger until it encompassed the entire council. Fleet, when the silver light touched the council ships, their engines stopped working. Their weapons powered down. Their life support systems switched to emergency backup. Within seconds, 50 of the galaxy's most powerful warships had been completely disabled by one human vessel firing one shot. Council fleet, your ships are unharmed but non-functional. Julie announced. Your crews are safe, but your vessels will remain disabled until you leave human space. Consider this a demonstration of why the Free Systems Coalition doesn't fear the old galactic order. Back on Earth, Dr. Ben Carter was leading the most ambitious scientific project in human history. The Free Systems Research Initiative brought together the brightest minds from every species in the Coalition to work on problems that had puzzled the galaxy for thousands of years. Dr. Carter, we just achieved a breakthrough in terraforming technology, one of his assistants reported. By combining human atmospheric processors with Aldorian plant modification techniques, we can transform dead worlds into garden planets. In just 5 years, instead of 50. Excellent. What about the quantum communication project? Even better news. We've developed a method for instantaneous communication across unlimited distances. No more relay stations or signal delays. Any species in the Coalition can talk to any other species immediately, no matter how far apart they are. The advances coming out of Coalition research facilities were staggering. New medical treatments that could cure diseases affecting dozens of species. Energy sources that were clean, renewable, and more powerful than anything previously known. Transportation systems that could move cargo across the galaxy in days instead of months. On the Council homeworld of Nexus Prime, the government was facing its greatest crisis in 10,000 years. Half of their member species had abandoned them to join the Free Systems Coalition. The remaining species were struggling to maintain basic services without human expertise. The Corvani representative Veltar met with the few council members who still attended their increasingly desperate meetings. We must face reality, he sighed, his musical voice heavy with defeat. Our civilization is collapsing. Without humans, we cannot maintain the technology that holds our society together. There must be something we can do, replied the insect-like Nexari delegate, who had not yet joined her species' move to the Coalition. Perhaps we could offer the humans complete control over Council policy in exchange for their return. They don't want control over us, Veltar explained. They want nothing to do with us at all. We had our chance to treat them as equals, and we chose to keep them as servants instead. Now they've built something better than what we ever offered them. President Hayes stood in her office, looking at reports from across human space. The Free Systems Coalition controlled more territory than the Galactic Council now. Their technology was advancing faster than anyone thought possible. Their member species were happier and more prosperous than they had ever been under. Council ruled. Her secretary knocked on the door. Madam President, we're receiving surrender offers from the remaining Council species. They want to dissolve their government and join the Coalition. Linda considered the request carefully. Earth had proven its point. Humanity didn't need the Council's approval or permission to thrive among the stars. They had built something better, on their own terms. Tell them we'll consider their applications, she said. But they'll have to earn their place in the Coalition, just like everyone else. The days of automatic privileges, based on age or tradition, are over. The galaxy was learning that when Earth walked away from the Galactic Council, they hadn't just left an organization. They had abandoned an entire way of thinking about how different species should relate to each other. The new universe that was emerging from humanity's bold decision was more free, more innovative, and more just than anything that had come before. 2 years had passed since Earth's withdrawal from the Galactic Council, and the old galactic order had completely collapsed. The once mighty council now controlled less than 20% of inhabited space. Most of their former members had joined the Free Systems Coalition or declared independence entirely. The proud civilization that had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years was dying. Commander Steve Bailey received an emergency transmission while patrolling the outer edges of Coalition space. His ship, the UEF Liberty, was part of a routine patrol when sensors detected something alarming near the Council's home system. "Commander, we're picking up massive gravitational distortions in the Nexus system," his science officer reported. "It looks like their star is becoming unstable." Steve studied the data on his screen. The readings showed that the Nexus star was experiencing solar flares unlike anything in recorded history. The energy bursts were so powerful they could destroy every planet in the system within days. "Are there still populations on those worlds?" he asked. "Yes, sir. Approximately 12 billion beings live in the Nexus system. A council leadership, their families, and millions of civilians who couldn't afford to leave when their government started collapsing." Steve faced a difficult decision. The council had refused to help humanity when millions were dying from disease. They had treated humans like servants for 30 years. They had tried to blockade human colonies and force Earth back into submission. By all rights, humanity owed them nothing. But Steve remembered the principles that President Hayes had established for the Free Systems Coalition. They were supposed to be better than the old council. They were supposed to value all life, not just the lives of their allies. "Set course for the Nexus system," he ordered. "Maximum speed?" "Sir, we don't have orders to intervene in council space." "Then I'll take responsibility for the decision. No one deserves to die because their government made bad choices." As the Liberty raced toward the dying system, Steve sent messages to every coalition ship in the area. Within hours, a rescue fleet of 300 vessels from dozens of different species was converging on Nexus Prime. The rescue operation was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships used their advanced shields to get close to the unstable star and extract energy before it could cause more damage. Aldorian. Hospital ships treated radiation sickness using medicines that were more effective than anything the Council possessed. Zephyrian transport vessels evacuated civilians using teleportation technology that the Coalition had perfected. Admiral Nancy Clark commanded the overall rescue effort from her flagship, the UEF Constitution. She watched as Coalition forces worked together with an efficiency that amazed even her. There was no bickering about who got credit or who should be in charge. Every species contributed their unique abilities toward the common goal of saving lives. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the Council leadership," her communications officer announced. The face that appeared on the main screen belonged to Veltar, the Corvani representative who had once dismissed human lives as statistically insignificant. Now he looked tired and defeated, his silver skin dull with exhaustion. "Admiral Clark, I am requesting political asylum for myself and my family," he said quietly. "The Council government has collapsed. There is no one left to lead what remains of our civilization." Nancy considered his request carefully. Veltar had been one of the most vocal opponents of human equality in the old Council. He had personally voted against providing medicine to save human lives. But he was also a refugee now, fleeing a dying world with his children. "Your request is granted," she said finally. "Report to Medical Bay 3 for processing. You'll be treated the same as any other refugee." The rescue operation lasted 6 days. When it was over, Coalition forces had evacuated every living being from the Nexus system. 12 billion refugees were relocated to safe worlds throughout Coalition. Space. The dying star eventually exploded in a supernova that would have killed everyone if the rescue hadn't succeeded. Dr. Amy Brooks made the most important discovery in galactic history while analyzing the quantum effects of the supernova. She was studying the explosion's impact on nearby space when she noticed something extraordinary. Director Powell, you need to see this immediately. She called from her research station. Sam Powell arrived at the laboratory within minutes. Amy showed him readings that seemed impossible. Look at these quantum signatures, she said, pointing to her screens. The supernova's energy interacted with the human-modified technology throughout this region of space. The quantum patterns that we've been spreading through alien systems just underwent a massive amplification. What does that mean exactly? It means our technology isn't just improving alien systems anymore. It's fundamentally changing the laws of physics in this part of the galaxy. Space travel is becoming easier. Energy generation is becoming more efficient. Even biological processes are being enhanced. Sam stared at the data in amazement. Are you saying that human technology is upgrading the universe itself? In a way, yes. Our quantum signatures are spreading through subspace and altering the fundamental constants that govern how matter and energy behave. Any species operating in areas with high concentrations of human-modified technology will find that their ships go faster, their computers work better, and their people live longer. The implications were staggering. Humanity hadn't just built better technology. They had accidentally begun upgrading the physical laws that governed reality in their region of space. The Free Systems Coalition was operating in a part of the galaxy where the universe itself worked more efficiently. Meanwhile, the former council leadership struggled to adapt to their new lives as refugees. Veltar found himself working in a coalition research facility, using his expertise in quantum physics to help develop new technologies. The work was similar to what he had done for the council, but the atmosphere was completely different. The humans treat me better as a refugee than my own government treated me as a high official, he confided to a colleague. They give me meaningful work, listen to my ideas, and judge me based on my contributions rather than my species or political connections. President Hayes stood in the Rose Garden addressing representatives from over 300 species. A Free Systems Coalition had grown beyond anyone's wildest expectations. What had started as Earth's rejection of galactic politics had become the foundation for a new type of civilization. Today we celebrate not the defeat of the old council, but the birth of something better, she said to the assembled delegates. We have proven that different species can work together as equals. We have shown that voluntary cooperation produces better results than forced hierarchy. We have demonstrated that the universe becomes a better place when everyone is free to contribute their unique gifts. Former Council Ambassador Veltar stood in the crowd listening to her words. 2 years ago, he would have dismissed this gathering as naive idealism. Now he understood that humanity had accomplished something remarkable. They had created a galactic civilization based on respect rather than dominance. The ceremony concluded with the signing of the Galactic Charter of Rights, a document that guaranteed freedom and equality for all sentient beings regardless of their species, origin, or technological level. Every member of the coalition signed the charter, promising to uphold its principles throughout the galaxy. As the delegates dispersed to return to their homeworlds, Kate Morrison reflected on how much had changed since that day she walked out of the council chambers. She was now Earth's Minister of Galactic Affairs, but instead of begging for acceptance from alien overlords, she worked with partners who valued human contributions. Minister Morrison, we're receiving applications from 47 more species that want to join the coalition, her aide reported. Kate smiled as she reviewed the applications. Each new member brought their own unique perspective and capabilities. The coalition was becoming stronger and more diverse every day. "Schedule meetings with all of them," she said. "But remember, they have to prove they're committed to our principles. We're not building another empire. We're creating a community where everyone can thrive." The galaxy had learned an important lesson. When Earth walked away from the Galactic Council, they hadn't abandoned galactic civilization. They had shown the universe what galactic civilization could become when it was based on freedom, equality, and mutual respect rather than ancient hierarchies and fear of change. The stars themselves seemed brighter in coalition space, where human innovation had begun upgrading the very fabric of reality. The universe was becoming a better place, one quantum signature at a time.